People think I'm just a ball. That's cute. I've survived wars, been stitched together more times than Frankenstein, been bitten by dogs, thrown onto rooftops, kicked into traffic, and somehow, I still end up in the FIFA World Cup final. Billions of people scream because of me. Entire countries cry because of me. And the funniest part? For most of my life, I wasn't even round. Yeah. Imagine the world's most popular sport being played with something that looked like a sad leather potato. Let me tell you my story. I was born nearly 3,000 years ago in ancient China. Back then, nobody called me a football. I was a leather pouch stuffed with feathers and animal hair. Not exactly premium sports equipment. Every kick felt like a pillow exploding in slow motion. One feather would escape, then another. By the end of the game, I looked like I'd lost a fight with a chicken. But people loved kicking me around. Soldiers used me for training. Kids chased me through dusty streets. And without realizing it, humans had just invented the beginning of the world's greatest obsession. As centuries passed, I traveled across civilizations. The Greeks tried to improve me. The Romans tried. Everybody thought they had the perfect design. But nobody could make me bounce properly. Therefore, humans came up with an idea that was both genius and deeply disturbing. They made me from an animal bladder. Yes, I spent years as an inflated pig bladder. Please take a moment to appreciate my suffering. People would kick me around while I silently thought, I used to be attached to a pig. This is not the career I imagined. To be fair, I bounced much better. But if someone kicked me too hard, pop, instant retirement. No VAR. No substitution. Just one very confused crowd and a deflated former pig organ. Humans finally realized that naked bladders were a terrible long-term strategy. Therefore, they wrapped me in thick leather. I started looking more like a real football. Well, kind of. Every one of us looked different. Some were round. Some were oval. One of my cousins looked suspiciously like a pumpkin with anxiety. But the real problem was rain. Oh, I hated rain. Leather absorbs water like a sponge. Minute by minute, I became heavier, harder, and dramatically more dangerous. By halftime, I wasn't a football anymore. I was basically a flying brick. Players still headed me anyway. Honestly, footballers in the 1800s were built different. Modern players complain about a wet jersey. Those guys were headbutting a waterlogged leather cannonball. Then, in the 19th century, everything changed. A man named Charles Goodyear discovered vulcanized rubber. But this wasn't just a chemistry experiment. Therefore, it became my rebirth. For the first time, I had a reliable rubber bladder inside me. I stayed round. I stayed bouncy. I stopped randomly exploding every few matches. Humans were so excited that they standardized my size and shape. Imagine that. After thousands of years of chaos, someone finally looked at me and said, maybe the ball shouldn't resemble a vegetable. Revolutionary thinking. Once football rules became standardized, my life got crazy. Clubs formed. Leagues appeared. Crowds grew larger. Therefore, I went from a street toy to a global celebrity. Then came FIFA. And in 1930, the first FIFA World Cup was held. Suddenly, I wasn't just being kicked in local fields. I was being carried into stadiums filled with tens of thousands of people. The pressure was unbelievable. One bad bounce and an entire nation would blame me. Trust me, I've heard things from angry fans that no ball should ever hear. By the 1970s, I got my biggest makeover yet. Adidas introduced the legendary Telstar design. You know the one, those black pentagons and white hexagons. People think it was created just to look cool. But there was a clever reason. Therefore, television cameras could track me more easily during broadcasts. Basically, I became more photogenic. Finally, after centuries of looking like damp luggage, I had entered my supermodel era. I appeared on TV screens around the world. Millions watched me spin through the air. And I have to admit, I looked incredible. Over the decades, I met everyone. Pelé treated me like magic. Maradona turned me into art. Zidane made me dance. Ronaldinho seemed legally incapable of doing anything normal with me. And then came Messi and Ronaldo. Watching those two was like being fought over by gods. One would curl me into the top corner. The other would hit me so hard I briefly considered entering orbit. People debate who is the greatest. I'm the only one who's been kicked by all of them. So technically, I'm the real ex-glorious. I've been stuck in trees, lost in rivers, chewed by puppies, signed with permanent markers, and used as a chair by a tired goalkeeper. A puppy once carried me around like a trophy for 3 hours. I had just been used in a professional match. 3 hours later, I was covered in slobber and existential despair. Fame is temporary. Dogs are forever. Today, I'm not just leather and air. I contain sensors. I communicate with referees. I help determine whether I crossed the goal line by a few millimeters. Think about that. I started as a bag of feathers, and now I'm basically a sports gadget. Some modern footballs can send data dozens of times per second. I've gone from please don't burst to analyzing trajectory in real time. That's one heck of a career progression. Now imagine the scene. 90,000 people. The World Cup final. The score is tied. One player places me on the penalty spot. The stadium falls silent. I can feel his heartbeat through his boot. This is the moment every football dreams of. Not the factory. Not the trophy cabinet. This one kick that could change history. But after all the stadiums, all the legends, all the World Cups, do you know where I'm happiest? Not under the bright lights. Not inside a glass trophy cabinet. Not even in the hands of a world champion. I'm happiest on a dusty street, at the feet of a kid wearing mismatched shoes, with 2 backpacks serving as goalposts, and 10 friends arguing over whether that was actually a goal. Because that's where every footballer's dream begins. One day, that same kid might walk into the biggest stadium on earth. 90,000 people watching. Millions more on television. The World Cup final. And I'll be there too. Maybe not the same ball, but the same dream. Because for over 3,000 years, people have believed they were chasing me. But the truth is, I've never been just a ball. I've carried hope. I've carried heartbreak. I've carried impossible dreams. I've connected strangers, started friendships, ended rivalries, and united entire nations for 90 unforgettable minutes. Not bad. For something that started life as a bag of feathers, then became a pig's bladder. I'd say, I've come a long way.